From KSMQ in southern Minnesota, this is Off 90. Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.
Band music is fun. It has a different dimension from orchestra music and classical music, even if you're playing the same piece. It's really fun to do this music. It's very relevant. It speaks to all the emotions of the modern person. It sort of takes you back to your great-grandfather's time. If the bandstand is the crown of the community, the brass band is the jewel in that crown. The Chatfield Brass Band in this community, I think, has a special place. It's also an element of pride for the town. It's a community event, and it's more than just music. It's a cultural happening, and it's really wonderful.
My father was Jim Perkins, who started the brass band in 1969 and the brass band Free Music Lending Library shortly after that. My dad decided that Chatfield needed to have an area band. And so what he did is he grabbed some old high school yearbooks and looked for pictures of people that he knew, sent him a note saying, hey, show up at band practice Thursday night. And then over time it grew to over 50 members. So once they created the band, then the biggest challenge was sheet music. They had to have music to play. Well, where do you find it?
Where do you find that music? In these filing cabinets.
My name is Teresa Serling, and I'm the library manager. This is a library of mostly band music. We lend the actual paper music out to bands and individuals all over the world. All of this music was donated from community bands, military bands, schools that didn't use it anymore. A lot of it came in as just separate pieces, and then the volunteers collated it and put it all together. It was a huge job.
And this is just one thing we've been able to quickly find in here, is this piece has the regimental stamp from the German Army band, but as you can see, the bullet hole, or the bullet that went right through the music. And I just find this fascinating.
People find us through a variety of ways. They either call us, they email us, or they find us on the web.
We've got waltzes and polkas and schottisches and paso dobles.
So we get the request, we go to the stacks and find the music, pull out the parts that they want, package it up and send it in the mail.
We've got quick steps. Also, we've got silent film music.
Probably the farthest that we've sent music is New Zealand.
So we've got Zing Zing Zoom Zoom.
We have 30,000 titles cataloged, but we have a lot that isn't cataloged yet. Probably another maybe 20,000 that aren't cataloged yet, and then almost 1,000 boxes that haven't even been opened yet.
Yeah, this is where I get totally disheartened when I get back here. And we've got all of these boxes of music that we haven't been able to get to. You can't deal with this backlog with volunteers. And that's why we've got a backlog, is because we were trying to rely on volunteer help. I want to see if I can find the novelty.
I think it is important, and our patrons really appreciate the fact that we're here. You know, we have people call us up and ask if we have a piece, and we'll have it. They'll say, oh, I've been looking for that for 40 years. A lot of it can't be found anywhere else. So it is pretty unique. It's the only library that lends out band music. There are a lot of other music libraries, but most of them don't lend out the music.
It's the only one of its kind in the country, in the world for that matter. So to have that in Chatfield is really great, because it's very, very rare.
My name is Carmen Narveson, and I'm the director of the Chatfield Brass Band. I try to pick music that works for our band. I love looking through the files, because sometimes I just pull something out and go, yeah, this will be a great piece.
This library is an incredible resource with literally tens and tens of thousands of compositions of almost every imaginable nature. It basically becomes part of one big story, the American melting pot music story of music from different cultures. Nowhere else in the country is there this much resource in one place.
My name is Vivian Thompson, and my late husband was one of the founders of the brass band. And I went along as a tag-along of one of the spouses, and I thought, well, gee whiz, he has to go anyway, why don't I try and play in the band? Yeah. But he hadn't played all the time like we had, so. I think we're known all over the world, the Brass Band Music Library is, so it's really wonderful to come down here. Even I've used it myself.
So these are all Chatfield Brass Band people?
That's just brass band people here.
Okay.
It was just a select group, you know, they had. So it's a wonderful resource for our little town of Chatfield.
Yeah, I mean, it was just, you know, one man, a vision, and a dream. And he's been gone almost 20 years, and just to really see this thrive and live on, it's just very worthwhile. I can walk down here and still vision my dad pulling a file cabinet open and saying, hey, Gabe, come over here, take a look at this. Oh, I've been looking for this. You know, a piece we probably hadn't seen in years.
So this is a lesson book on how to play a parlor organ from 1886.
This was my playpen. You know, a lot of people were going to Twins games, and I'd be down here filing music.
Ooh, the clown band contest. I bet you that would be fun.
It's just always been a second home to quite a few of us.
It's been one big family for us, and it's really been a lot of fun and relaxation. It's definitely like therapy.
This was in 1982, and this is the Chatfield Brass Band. My dad playing trombone there, playing at John Philip Sousa's gravesite in Washington, D.C. at Congressional Cemetery. That was the only time, so far to my knowledge, that a civilian band has been asked to play side by side with the United States Marine Band. It's really one of its kind in the world. I think he just got a lot of joy out of it. I think he loved playing music, and he loved seeing people play music. And what a great opportunity to find a rare piece, take it back to your town, play it, and then return it again. That was quite phenomenal. This is a picture of Meredith Willson, who wrote the musical The Music Man. And he was in Western Days in 1983. So to have him conduct the Chatfield Brass Band and then was attending the musical here that was being produced at Western Days was a pretty awesome thing to have Meredith Willson there. I think he really found joy in that. You know, just filling lives and communities full of music is what a great gift to do. What a great legacy to leave behind.
We always farmed together. Well, we kind of had no choice but got stuck into farming, right? I suppose. That's what we were doing, so we kept on. Well, we had plenty of chores. It took a half a day every day to do the chores and clean out the barn. And we had a little 39 John Deere B. If it was too cold for the dog, we didn't go out in the field either. There was a neighbor girl, she says, "How in the world do you pull that thrash machine through the field?" Well, we said, "You know, you don't. You bring the bundles to it." Oh, they couldn't understand it. Oh, that was a long time ago in the 40s. See, everybody thrashed before that. They had thrash machines. But it was fun to thrash too, because the neighbors would get together and you'd have a bunch, eight neighbors or something. They'd all come with their wagons and load up their bundles, and they always had a good dinner. One time, believe it or not, Dad had a thrash machine, and we had a John Deere B with lights on and a big two-wheel trailer that hold a lot of bundles, and we kept going out there, but the moon was shining for the tractor and thrash machine, so you could see there pretty good, but we kept going out and get bundles and didn't get them all, the last one picked up till 2 o'clock at night. It thrashed 2 o'clock. And then we had to go home and do milk and do the chores. Yeah, you can see the name on the machine there. President Hoover was the president, so he says, "We've got to make a machine that will get all the grain and clean grain." And so there it is. And then later, John Deere Company bought this company out. They was made in Minneapolis, Minnesota. Some of the younger guys, they would say, "I want to plug that machine," with kind of wet bundles. Dad would be back by the blower, and when a wet gob come, he had a fork and he threw it out. And they never plugged the machine. The combines replaced that, yeah. We're the Minnesota Twins. Yeah, sometimes I say he's Minneapolis and I'm St. Paul. We always lived in Minnesota, so I said we're the Minnesota. And then this is the Gopher State. We go for this, we go for that. we see little kids, look at him, look at me. Oh yeah, the mother is holding the little one. They look both ways. You can see the looking at him. He kind of laughed about it. Well, not too long ago, though, he went to get a haircut. And then and 2 weeks later, he goes in there. "Oh my gosh, your hair grew like that?" Says, "Wasn't you in here a little bit ago?" I said, "No." Yeah, that's why we don't want the same doctor, because we are a couple of different people. Dad had a John Deere single row cultivator. You sat on that. You didn't get much done each day, and then it was so you cross cultivate too. But you got your feet so you can change the kind of move things. So you miss the corn, get the weeds and miss the corn. Hitch up the mules and get them going. Down to Charles City, Iowa, they made Hart Park tractors. Dad worked in the factory there in the early 20s. He helped put Hart Pars together. And he said at that time the factory, on the end, if you got it all done, if it didn't run right, they said they melted it all over and made it all over again. Dad wanted a farm east of Dexter. That's where we were born. Our first place by Dexter there was a guy where Dad couldn't figure out why that cow would be kind of dry every morning.
Well, we found out there was a hitchhiker or somebody up on the haymow, and he'd come down when nobody's around and milk the cow for lunch. Well, Dad found out one time, and Dad called the Dexter sheriff, said, "There's a guy here, could you come out and get him?" Well, no, he's out of our territory. Well, so Dad loaded him up in the car and brought him to Dexter. He's in your territory now.
And then we lived south of Boston.
And then in the 30s, was it 32 or so, we lived where we are now.
First year, we didn't have no foundation on the house. And it was real cold, but they had thrash machine wheels. We still got the thrash machine wheels. Moved a 14 by 20 house down the end of the road. They got it for $200. And they set it up. We lived in that for quite a few years.
Well, I'm still living there.
We slept in a house with the rafters and shingle nails sticking out.
Yes.
You'd put your head under a cover. So
well, wintertime you'd have frost on them.
Yeah, there was frost.
You'd have snow by the window a little bit.
Well, the chimney too. By the chimney is a snowbank.
That was enjoyable.
It didn't hurt us. That's why we're still here.
This is the first place we lived. We were born on this farm, and but we moved away, so we don't remember too much, but we do remember some. We had our grandma gave us a little wagon, and she came out here one day, and Laverne had the wheel off of it. Well, she was so disappointed, and Ma said, "Oh, don't worry, he'll put it back on." So that's his first repair job. This is a John Deere corn planter, and these are the markers, and you had the wire was hooked into here, so it'll trip for hill dropping. About maybe 40 inches wide, I think, at first, and then 38 later. John Deere took this company over, and then later they fixed it up for the tractor. And then later they forgot about the wire and just drilled the corn in. It'd trip it, so the corn would go into the ground. And here. Oops, it worked.
Well, Depression years, it was a little rough.
Huh?
Depression years was rough.
Yeah.
People didn't have money.
No. Well, there used to be a bank in Dexter, and everybody says, we're the ones that broke the bank. I don't know why they say that. Well, somebody in the Dexter Bank, I think 1929 was it, they took some pigs to town. They didn't have much money, but the bank was kind of closed, and he knocked on there, and he'd like to put the money in the bank. The next morning, he lost it. The bank closed, and he didn't get his money. That was kind of bad, wasn't it? Yeah, been better if he was a little bit later.
This thing is 1914, John Deere Dane. Dad bought it in the 40s, I think it was.
At one time, that baler had a platform on it, and I stood up there, and somebody else put the hay there on that platform, and I'd shove it in.
It hasn't made bales for quite a while.
And you come to that mark, then you better put a block in and then tie the bale with wire. And it sure could make heavy bales. Yeah, the neighbor, he wanted us to bale flax straw. Well, he said, I want 100-pound bales. I set it for 100-pound bales. Every time I wasn't looking, well, he tightened the tension down. He put them on a truck and hauled them, and he'd come back, You know, we almost lost that whole load. They're 120 pounds apiece. Yeah, that was heavy.
It needs, we got to grease this thing. Oh no.
Well, then we farmed with Dad 1 year. Then he died the next year. So we were glad we had 1 year. Of course, Dad died in 1946. November the 16th, the crop was all in the field. It was mud that year. And it took us till the last of January to harvest. And then, boy, did it snow then. The neighbors offered to help us. And I said, well, you got all you can do, we'll keep on.
Well, nowadays they got such fast machinery.
Yeah, they'd gladly come and help us. And we had that thrash machine, and Laverne and I, we didn't know how to put the belts on, so we didn't plant any oats. And then the next year we sent for an instruction book.
Sure, this is out of gear. Then press it down. You can stand on this. Some people say, what good old days, but you'll hear 40s, 50s, they were good years for everybody. Things were reasonable, and you buy good products. But I don't know why they really call it. Some didn't think it was good old days, but I didn't think they were so bad. I know you had to work.
Yeah, you might get tired. You never quite retire.
One, two, three.
That's it for now. But join us again next week for Off 90. Meanwhile, let us know what you think and tell us about any interesting people, places, or stories that you want to see here in the coming weeks. Then watch for the KSMQ crew out there, around your town, in our communities, along the back roads. Wherever arts, culture, and history can be found in southern Minnesota, that's where we'll be. But you can be sure we'll always be Off 90.
Funding for Off 90 is provided in part by the Minnesota Arts and Cultural Heritage Fund and the citizens of Minnesota.